What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to Norway's election results. So, Norway just had an election a few days ago on Monday, and not surprisingly, here in the United States, I haven't heard anything about this. I don't know what happened. I don't know who won. Honestly, this is stuff that we just don't talk about in the United States. We don't talk about other countries and what's going on in the world and other elections. So I have no idea what happened. So today, I want to finally learn about who won Norway's election, what happened, and what it all means for the future of Norway, right? So let's take a look.
On Monday, Norway held its 2025 election, which polling experts had described beforehand as perhaps the most exciting parliamentary election since 1945.
Right. From what I saw trying to learn about this before the election, it was pretty close, right? Like, that's what it seemed. So I guess this was kind of exciting.
In the end, the incumbent centre-left Labour Party finished in first place, winning 28% of the vote and securing a second four-year term.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's the news. That's what I was waiting for. Okay. Wow. That's big. So that's kind of what was expected, right? If you had to predict what would happen, the Labour Party was like projected to win. I think that was expected. So I don't know what this means. Norway is generally pretty happy with how things are going. You guys want to continue with the current government, or is that what this kind of means? Like, most Norwegians just want to keep things the same, so it will be the same prime minister, and so the Labour Party won. Okay.
It was an extremely close race between Norway's left-wing and right-wing political blocs overall, though.
Oh.
With Norway's left-wing political bloc, dominated by Labour, achieving 87 out of 169 seats, just 2 above the 85 needed for a parliamentary majority.
Whoa! Okay, this is more interesting than I thought. The Labour Party won, but if you split up the Norwegian parliament into like left and right, it's actually very, very close. So this is what I tried to learn about this. In Norway, you guys have a lot of different parties. That's awesome. In America, we really only have 2. So it's very simple. In Norway, you guys have coalitions where parties work together. And you guys, so the liberals have a very, very, very slight majority. Is that right?
Norway's left-wing political bloc, dominated by Labour,
I don't know what you guys call it. Liberal, conservative, left, right. I know politics are different, and the terminology is different depending on what country you are in the world. Like liberal in America might mean something different in Norway. So we're going to say the left has a slight majority.
achieving 87 out of 169 seats, just 2 above the 85 needed for a parliamentary majority.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the right-wing bloc, comprising the populist right-wing Progress Party and the Conservatives, achieved 82 seats.
Yeah, okay. Wow, this was, oh my God. As far as left-wing and right-wing, this was so close. Oh my God, with the coalitions and... Okay.
With the Progress Party more than doubling its result from 2021. Whoa. So, in this video, we'll explain Norway's 2025 election results, the recent political background, and what challenges the country's next government might face.
Whoa. Okay. Very interesting. Does that mean there was a bit of change in the Norwegian government. It seems like the right wing or certain parties got bigger, which is going to affect what Norway's government can do, I assume.
Let's start by recapping the political background. At the previous 2021 election, the centre-left Labour Party finished first with a 26.3% vote share, followed by the
Wow.
centre-right Conservative Party with 20.5%.
Wow.
In third was the agrarian Eurosceptic Centre Party with 13.6% of the vote. In fourth was the right-wing Populist Progress Party with 11.7%.
I have to say, this is so amazing. As an American, this is so cool to see how Norway has so many different opinions and parties and so many options and such a diversity of thought. In America, as I've said, you're either a liberal or a conservative, Democrat or Republican. That's basically it. Two options. Politics and philosophy is a lot more complicated than that. And it's so cool to see a place like Norway where you guys actually have representatives from like 9 or 10 different parties. That's amazing.
And in fifth was the left-wing Eurosceptic Socialist Left Party with 7.6%. After their victory, Labour, led by Jonas Gahr Støre, formed a minority coalition government with the Centre Party, which soon became plagued by infighting, resignations and conflict of interest scandals, from plagiarism to insider trading. This contributed to a drop in Labour's poll rating, from 27% at the 2021 election to around 16% in January 2024, when the right-wing Populist Progress Party really began to surge.
So the Labour Party had a lot of problems during the last election period, huh?
Further cracks appeared in the Labour Centre coalition in late 2024 over the issue of energy. For context, Norway is one of the world's largest exporters of crude oil and natural gas, and is also a big producer of hydropower. Around 90% of Norway's total electricity comes from hydropower, and almost half of Europe's total reservoir capacity is in Norway.
Oh my God, that's pretty incredible for Norway, by the way. But all right, putting that aside, back to the politics.
Norway exports hydropower to the EU via electricity interconnectors to Denmark, the UK and Germany. And in the past few years, this has increased significantly, leading to rising concerns that Norway's electricity exports to the EU may be driving up the country's domestic energy prices. This is why, in January, the Eurosceptic Centre Party, which has long opposed Norwegian membership of the EU and the adoption of its energy market rules, left Støre's government. Støre was pushing for Norway to accept the EU's energy directive to generally increase Norway's alignment with Europe, but the Centre Party opposed this and quit the coalition, leaving a pure Labour cabinet. But
Whoa, okay, there is a lot of drama. There is a lot of drama in the last 4 years in Norway. This party left the Labour coalition because they disagreed about energy. Okay.
But this apparently ended up helping Labour. And after Støre's appointment of the popular former Norwegian Prime Minister and NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg as finance minister in February, Labour's polling immediately jumped up by as many as 10 percentage points, to a 6-year high of nearly 30%.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the right-wing Populist Progress Party was holding steady at around 20%, having overtaken the Conservatives at the end of 2024. The party appeared to be benefiting from growing fatigue with both of Norway's mainstream parties, Labour and the Conservatives.
See, it would be so cool in America, because I think a lot of people in America are kind of fed up with just choosing between Democrat and Republican if there was another party, like, not even talking about like what your politics are. It's just so great that there are so many options in Norway.
But also from Norway's increased oil and gas revenues, since Norway overtook Russia as Europe's biggest supplier of natural gas in 2022.
Right.
This seemed to work in the Progress Party's favour, as the party has long championed oil and gas exploration. Simultaneously, though, it caused problems for the left-leaning parties, which disagree over what to do with Norway's immense oil and gas reserves.
Okay.
This dilemma isn't going away anytime soon either. Norwegian exports of natural gas remain near record highs.
So this whole energy problem, this debate, sounds like it's a big debate in Norway. This is still an ongoing problem.
And are forecast to stay at similar levels until 2027. Anyway, that brings us to the 2025 election results. Labour came first with 53 seats, closely followed by the Progress Party on 48 seats.
Wow!
In third were the Conservatives with 24 seats.
That's a big deal, right? The Norwegian Progress Party jumping up to that many seats. That's a ton. And it sounds like they weren't that big before. So that's a big new result in Norwegian politics. The Progress Party becoming so much bigger, it sounds like.
A notable drop from 2021. Next, the Centre Party, Socialist Left Party, and the Reds each won 9, while the Greens and Christian Democratic Party each won 7, and the Liberals won 3. There was also a clear urban-rural divide. But unlike in other European countries, Norway's urban areas showed stronger support for right-wing parties, while rural areas showed stronger support for left-wing parties.
Okay.
We can map this fairly accurately onto median income, with wealthier urban areas voting more for the right and poorer rural areas voting more for the left.
Okay.
This reflects how big of an issue Norway's wealth tax was in this election. For context, the previous Labour Centre coalition introduced changes to Norway's long-standing wealth tax, which have generated an extra 10 billion kroner of government revenue annually. But
I don't know much about this, but it sounds like this is a tax on the very, very wealthy population of Norway?
have also reportedly led to record departures of investors and the super-rich to low-tax countries like Switzerland.
So this will generate more revenue for Norway, bigger taxes on richer people, but it also causes some corporations, businesses, and high wealth individuals to just want to leave the country.
During the campaign, the Populist Progress Party promised to scrap the tax, arguing that Norway needs to be an attractive country for wealth creation, while the more moderate Conservatives pledged to reduce it. Labour Finance Minister Stoltenberg, meanwhile, pledged a cross-party review of all Norwegian taxes, including wealth, after the election. Anyway, wealth tax aside, there are two main takeaways from these results. The first is that the Labour government's job has become even more difficult, as the party now needs the support of 4 smaller parties in order to reach a parliamentary majority.
That's what I was thinking. This is going to make it much more difficult for whatever the Labour Party wants to do, because they need all these 4 different parties to make a big enough coalition to form a majority government.
Norway's multi-party political system is generally divided into 2 main blocks, with parties belonging to either the left-wing red or right-wing blue bloc. Given that the combined number of seats won by the red bloc is 87, with 85 required for a majority, Labour would need to rely on all of the Centre Party, Socialist Left Party, the Reds, and the Greens for a parliamentary majority.
So every single party on the left wing has to agree in order for stuff to get done.
However, Norway often has minority coalition governments, so Labour can choose to form a coalition with 1 or 2 other red bloc parties, or even govern alone. Sture will likely continue as Prime Minister, with a majority of respondents to a poll last week preferring him as their candidate. But he'll have to manage disagreements among the red bloc parties over issues like taxation, social welfare, and climate policy.
The Norwegian government is very interesting. It's honestly very, very cool to hear about a different system of running a country, because I'm so familiar with the American government. It's really interesting to see how you can do it a different way. So Jonas Gahr Støre is probably going to be the prime minister again, right?
The second main takeaway is that the Conservative Party has been usurped by the Progress Party as the dominant party of the right of
That's what I noticed. That feels like a big deal.
Norwegian politics. The Progress Party, which campaigned on the slogan "Your money, your freedom," promised to slash taxes and invest more of Norway's $1.8 trillion sovereign wealth fund in infrastructure, as well as arguing for zero net immigration from, quote, high-risk countries, prioritising Christian refugees and setting up asylum processing centres in third countries like Rwanda. The party achieved its best ever results, reflecting the broader trend of right-wing populist parties doing well across Europe. Ultimately, Norway's new government will face several challenges, as the left bloc has a very narrow majority and faces a stronger, bolder opposition in the Progress Party. The government will likely be scrutinised over the use and investment of Norway's sovereign wealth fund, which divested from Israeli weapons firms this summer following public outcry, and also over Norway's taxation system. Stoltenberg's proposed review of Norwegian taxes, including on wealth, will be something many European governments that are now considering their own wealth tax will be watching closely. It's no secret that...
Wow! Oh my god. I feel like I just got like a crash course in education in Norwegian politics. I thought at the beginning this was pretty simple. Like, okay, the Labour Party won again. Boring, everything's the same. No, that's not really true. The Labour Party did win, but there seems like there's a lot of things that did change for Norway. A new right-wing party, the Progress Party, right? That's the biggest right-wing party now. And a very, very slim majority for the left-wing parties. And the Labour Party has to decide who it's going to be in a coalition with, and this wealth tax and immigration and all these issues. There's a lot going on for the future of Norway, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But I'm glad I took a look at this. I feel like I have such a better understanding of what is going on in Norway right now. So this was great. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Norway's election, especially if you're Norwegian. This is your election. This is your country. Feel free to comment on that. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and learning things about Norwegian culture I didn't know, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.